Good Friday afternoon to you. I hope your weekend is off to a great start. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. Plenty to talk about with the Browns and Raiders game. A little later in the show, Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com, will join us as we dive deeper into the Browns-Raiders game. And that's where we begin. Browns game with the Raiders has been moved from tomorrow at 4:30 First Energy Stadium to Monday at 5 o'clock due to an increased number of COVID-19 positives for the Browns. The NFL has said they checked with medical professionals and they recommend this for the players' health and safety. Let's welcome in Scott Petrak, Browns beat reporter from the Elyria Chronicle-Telegram. Can also read him on brownzone.com. So they're saying it's for players' health and safety. Sure took them a while to get there, though, Scott. They just did it within the past couple of hours. But again, from Saturday at 4:30, Monday to 5 is now when kickoff is.
Yeah, I'm surprised, Dave. I know all the positive tests and the Browns or whatever. But the league, I talked to somebody in the league Thursday night. They were adamant that it wasn't going to change. So I don't know if the last couple tests did something, and the fact that maybe the Rams in Washington are also dealing with outbreaks. I think that probably played a part.
Yeah, there are now 2 Tuesday games as well. So the Browns-Raiders game wasn't the only one that is moved. So let's take a look at what some player availability will be. A couple more guys have tested positive. So the Browns did activate Anthony Walker off the COVID-19 reserve list. That's great. But they added Grant Delpit, Tony Fields, A.J. Green, Ronnie Harrison. We knew those earlier. Kareem Hunt, Case Keenum's on it, Jacob Phillips, Mack Wilson, and one of the assistant coaches as well. So, Scott, the question that pops into my mind, you move it back 48 hours. Does it really dramatically change who will be available to suit up for the Browns to go against the Raiders on Monday at 5?
We just don't know yet, Dave. I know that the fact that the NFL and NFLPA changed the protocol Thursday night to allow vaccinated, asymptomatic players to return after one negative test, that gives you a greater chance. Now, the Browns tested today, and none of the guys came off the list today. So I don't think there's any guarantee you'll see a flood of guys come back, but I do think there's a chance you could see up to a handful. But on top of that, the Browns signed a backup quarterback today, Kyle Auletta, right? They signed 2 defensive backs yesterday. If those guys are going to play, and there's a good chance they play if other guys don't come off the list, then at least they get to go through meetings. There's going to be a practice tomorrow. That helps those guys get ready, which I think helps competitive balance to some degree. And there's also a health and safety of, hey, these guys now have a better idea of what they're doing. They're probably less likely to get hurt.
Yeah, fair enough. We're also hearing that Anthony Schwartz could be available coming out of concussion protocol with the game being pushed back as well. All right, we've talked about it. Let's take a look at the Browns depth chart. Again, this is extremely fluid, and it hasn't been updated up to the minute, but it will give you a sense of how deep they're going. So the names in pink, if you will, have all tested positive. They're out. You can also, in green, those guys were banged up, although Hudson is healthy, so that's not exactly the case, but Anthony Schwartz is. Michael Dunn would be in the starting lineup. Blake Hance would also be as a starter. You see there at tackle. But again, it gives you an idea of just how banged up that is on the offensive side of the ball. And on the defensive side of the ball, it's a similar kind of thing. Clowney has tested positive. He'll go on that list tomorrow likely. But it's awfully thin as far as starters that are available to play for the Browns.
Yeah, you look at the number, it's 24, right? Or maybe it's probably 23 now that Anthony Walker's come off. So the number in itself shows you how significant this is. But then I think when you go by position, running back is the only position, running back, kicker, and long snapper, right? But kicker and long snapper are one guy. So running back is the only position that has not been affected by positive COVID tests this week. And you know what? I take that back because Kareem Hunt made the list today. Now, he would have been out regardless with an ankle injury, but he got added to the list today. So it's really a clean sweep across the position groups. And it's not just guys. There are big name guys like you just showed, starters, key contributors, and there's a bunch of different positions, right? Numbers 2, 3, and 4 defensive ends are on the COVID list. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 safeties are on the COVID list. So all of a sudden, there's a lot of scrambling that needs to be done just to have bodies at those positions.
Yeah, and you know, again, competitive balance is what comes into question at that point. But as it stands right now, unless Case Keenum or Baker Mayfield can get off of that COVID list, Nick Mullens will make his first start for the Browns. So some things to know about Nick Mullens, and there are some good things about Nick Mullens, especially for a guy that's the practice squad number 3 quarterback. Take a look at this. This is from CBS, NFL on CBS. One of only 3 quarterbacks who've thrown for 2,600 yards, 14 touchdowns in their first 9 career starts. So if you're mentioned in the same breath with Pat Mahomes and Justin Herbert, you're in pretty good company. Now, I'm not saying Nick Mullens is Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert, but he is a guy who has run an NFL offense, has won NFL games, and when you look at it, you could be in a whole lot worse shape going to your 3rd quarterback than Nick Mullens.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, David, for a couple of reasons. And another stat is through his first 16 starts, which Mullens is 5-11 in those starts, Patrick Mahomes was the only guy to throw for more yards. Now, I don't know if Justin Herbert eventually passed that or not, but it's like 4,000 something. So it was in his first 16 starts, Mahomes was the only one to throw for more, which means the guy can light it up a little bit. In his first start in 2018, he beat the Raiders and played great, almost had a perfect passer rating. Now, things went downhill a little bit from that. But he has experience in that Kyle Shanahan wide zone scheme, which is really similar to what the Browns run here, which Kevin Stefanski runs here, which is why they went and got him when the 49ers cut him after this preseason, because he made sense as the number 3 guy. So, yeah, I mean, it's not going to be like a total disaster like when the Broncos played the receiver quarterback. He's not Case Keenum, he's not Baker Mayfield, but they should be able to run the offense with him. Now you just need to protect him with, your starting line in trouble, and you need to find some targets without Jarvis Landry and Austin Hooper.
Other than that, you're in pretty good shape. Here's the other thing, and you mentioned it. Your 1, 2, and 3 safeties are on that list. So right now, as of now, when we sit here on Friday, they can't go. Ronnie Harrison, Grant Delpit, John Johnson. What do you do if you don't have those 3 guys in the back half of that defense?
Yeah, there's just not a lot of options. You talk about, well, maybe you put a linebacker there, you can play JOK at safety. Maybe you can do that given that Anthony Walker's back. So you have Walker and Malcolm Smith and Sione Takitaki and Elijah Lee. So you have a little bit of depth at linebacker. Maybe you can play JOK as an in-the-box safety. Besides that, MJ Stewart would be next up, but he's also probably your number 1 nickelback right now with Troy Hill on the list and Greg Newsome in concussion protocol still. I don't know, it's a couple more days. Maybe the Browns can get lucky and Newsome can clear protocol. That'd be great for them. If not, then you got to decide, do you play MJ Stewart at nickel? Do you play him at safety? Then you got Richard LeCounte III, Javonte Moffitt, right? And they signed Tedrick Thompson to the practice squad yesterday. In fact, he ran on the field with no name on his back as we were leaving practice yesterday. That just shows you kind of the fluidity of the situation. So they had a bunch of decisions to make, and at nickel, nickel's a huge deal. Do you try to play Denzel Ward inside, which he doesn't do, to cover Hunter Renfrow? But then who do you play outside because A.J. Green tested positive? So it's really a mess, and I'm sure the coaches are thinking about it 24/7.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to my next kind of issue. Do you just put Denzel Ward on Hunter Renfrow because he's been so good and just say, normally we don't do this, but this is not normal. This is, kind of what we need to do in this matchup. Darren Waller was ruled out. Now we'll see if he can come back because of the extra couple days as well. The really good tight end for the Raiders. He has some extra time to heal up, so maybe he's available come Monday.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. And they would catch a big break if he doesn't play. Like you said, he was ruled out if the game were to take place Saturday. He's missed a couple games in a row, I believe, knee and back issues. So if he's out, then the focus needs to be Hunter Renfrow. And yeah, I would, desperate times, right? I would put Denzel Ward in the slot, or just regardless, wherever Hunter Renfrow goes, you have to cover him. Now, he might give up some completions out of the slot. That's going to be expected. But I don't know if there's a better solution. You could try double teaming Renfrow with just two guys, and maybe that's better. Maybe take away the outside guy and force Carr to try to throw into double teams. But my first inclination is go with Denzel Ward on Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, I agree. That's a guy that has been playing really well. I think it's 30 receptions in his last 3 games. So he has been a force for the Raiders. Scott Petrak and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll continue to talk about the Browns getting ready for the Raiders. Game now moved to Monday at 5 o'clock at First Energy Stadium. We'll be right back after this timeout.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns, getting ready now for a Monday night game, Monday at 5 o'clock against the Las Vegas Raiders. Peter Schrager from NFL Network's Good Morning Football. Who will shine? He said on Saturday, we're going to take it, who will shine this weekend?
Nick Mullens is going to start for the Browns. There's no chance Nick Mullens can be thrown into this situation with all that's going on with Cleveland on a Saturday with all the COVID cases and with no backup quarterback to be named and suddenly just win a game. Guys, Nick Mullens.
Let's go!
In his NFL debut, came in on a Thursday night because of injuries to the Niners.
Baller!
Showed up, and where was he afterwards? Where was he? Because look, guess what? He goes out there, he has this game, and I remember it vividly. We were in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, filming shows. I remember watching this game and being like on a Friday morning saying, Nick Mullens from Brett Favre's school, Southern Miss, does all these things. Guess where Nick Mullens was after the game?
Where?
He's being interviewed by the NFL Network crew, which was on site, and there he is. Guys,
What's
Nick
up, Nick?
Mullens has been in this exact position before. Big NFL Network game. Saturday night, everyone watching, everyone questioning, can Nick Mullens do it?
Yeah.
Hey, Nick Mullens, go do your thing.
Go do it.
I want to see you being interviewed by Willie McGinnis and the gang, and whoever else is out there, okay? Whoever's in Cleveland, I want to see you be the one on that panel because you found a way to get the victory. You've done it before. Nick Mullens, go have a day.
And it will now be 5 o'clock on NFL Network on Monday. And when you look at this, what's to say Nick Mullens can't go out and do it again for the Browns?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think you need a sunglass sponsor, Dave.
Oakley.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance, right? He's got experience. We talked about that, his debut. Yeah, I think he needs to be more careful with the ball. When you look at his stats, through those 16 starts, he's turned it over a good amount. I want to see 20, maybe 22 picks to 25 touchdowns. That doesn't fly in Kevin Stefanski's system. He'll need to be more careful. The key is going to be protecting him. Without Jedrick, theoretically, without Jedrick Wills, without Jack Conklin for sure, without Wyatt Teller, how do the Browns protect him and give him a chance? But yeah, Mullens on his own isn't the biggest concern of this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think the game plan looks like if you're in Berea now? How do we score points with what we have to go against the Raiders Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to sound simple, but I think it's a lot of the run game. The Raiders are not good against the run. I think they rank 26th. So I would try to establish Nick Chubb, right? He is your best player on offense. Go to him and go to him all the time or a lot of the time. That takes pressure off Mullens. I think it takes pressure off the offensive line and your receivers. Having David Njoku back helps. I would try to get him involved. And DPJ on the outside. I think you got to go with your horses, and those guys seem like your horses on offense. Plus, you have Dearness Johnson. I don't want to overlook him. Has been really good this year, a pleasant surprise. Without Kareem Hunt, he can still have an impact for you. So, when the weather was supposed to be sloppy on Saturday, I thought this would be a really run-oriented game. I think Monday's supposed to be nicer from a, rain standpoint. So maybe open it up a little bit. But I think you want to slow down the game, keep the ball out of Derek Carr's hands to run it.
Yeah, let me ask you this, because I'm with you. Do you use a fullback more so, and that kind of helps out with some of the areas on the offensive line that might be struggling in one-on-one matchups? I know there's issues with it, but is that something you look at?
I definitely, especially because you don't have the option of putting Blake Hance as your extra tight end offensive lineman like you did a week ago against Baltimore, right? He played 18 snaps in that role. Now he's got to play every snap at left tackle. So, and Harrison Bryant is banged up with that high ankle sprain. I think he's going to play, but it just doesn't feel like they'll use 3 tight ends as much. So, especially with Austin Hooper out. So therefore, what's the alternative? The alternative is Andy Janovich back there, and I think he can help you in pass protection, and he can help you with the run game.
Yeah, as a lead blocker, he's pretty darn good. All right, let's look at this because now there's more time. Which guys that are currently unavailable, if you get 2 of them back and say, man, that would help, which 2 would you take?
I'd take Baker, would be number 1. I just think the gap between him and Mullens, we said all the nice things about Mullens, but hasn't played this year. It's your starting quarterback. He would be the number 1 guy. And then after that, that's a tough one. Jadeveon Clowney, I think, is really important. He's been playing really well. And if you don't have Tack McKinley and Ifeadi Odenigbo, then Clowney becomes more important. So he would make my short list. And then, it's a tough one. Maybe Jedrick Wills. You're missing Jack Conklin. You want your left tackle out. He hasn't been great this year, but that's such an important position, and it frees up Blake Hance to do some other stuff. So I think those would be my top 3 guys.
What about Teller and I'd want one of those safeties. Maybe John Johnson.
Yeah. No, I want Wills over Teller, and maybe that's not right, but the Raiders, their strength is the defensive ends, right? So you want your tackles, but I should have mentioned a safety, and I would go John Johnson III if I had to pick one safety. But yeah, you're right. They need one of those safeties.
The other thing is when you look at what they potentially do defensively, it's got to be affected. Just the Derek Carr's got to be licking his chops when he looks at some of the guys some of the pieces that are missing defensively there.
Yeah, the solution is you get a bunch of pressure, right? Which would have been easier if Jadeveon Clowney's plays. If not, there's a whole bunch of Myles Garrett, and they're going to triple team him. So somebody's got to play big, whether it's Malik Jackson, because Malik McDowell's on the list. Malik Jackson, whether it's Porter Gustin coming off the practice squad. Maybe they play Taki in a pass rusher role. They've done that in the past. But you need somebody to put some pressure on Derek Carr because you're not going to be able to blitz a bunch of guys because you can't trust the back end, right? So it feels like a game where the pass rush needs to succeed. The problem is you're missing a bunch of guys in that regard.
Scott Petrak, Browns beat reporter for the Elyria Chronicle-Telegraph, as well as Brownzone.com, and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. We will continue talking Browns, getting ready for the Raiders 5 o'clock Monday over at First Energy Stadium. When we return, dive into playoff probabilities to show you just how important this game against the Raiders is. We'll also look at some rookie rankings from CBS Sports, see where some of the Browns are on that. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Browns-Raiders game moved from tomorrow 4:30 to Monday at 5 o'clock over at First Energy Stadium. CBSSports.com rookie rankings. Let's take a look at these. The number one guy, offensive lineman from the Chiefs, Creed Humphreys. Micah Parsons second. Rashawn Slater, left tackle for the Chargers third. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is the fourth-ranked rookie in this class. And he's missed some time, but that defense looks much more aggressive, much faster, and just flat out better, Scott, when he is on the field. I've loved what I have seen from him. I want to see more of it.
You know, he's played really well. Number 4 seems high to me because he hasn't played a ton and has missed some time. But when he's on the field, he's made a significant difference. You know, Greg Newsome, I'd probably put him higher on the list. I think he's played more games than Owusu-Koramoah. You know, he's out there by himself, covering man-to-man. So if I were doing the Browns power ranking, I would have the rookie ranking. I would have Newsome ahead. But I do see a lot of potential in JOK, and he's played his best football the last 2 weeks against the Ravens and Lamar Jackson until Lamar went out. And his skill set really showed up.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. I think nationally, I don't think Greg Newsome gets as much respect as he should. Best thing about Greg Newsome, people just don't throw against him. And I think that's kind of the ultimate eye test is if you're a rookie cornerback and they're not picking on you and you're playing opposite of Denzel Ward, that tells me you're doing pretty much what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, you know, when he's gotten beat, he bounces back right away, gotten a couple pass interference calls against the Patriots, I want to say, and then kind of knocked that out the next week. I've been really impressed. He's a smart guy. You know, this is an unlucky break with that concussion suffered on the last play of practice a week ago. But I've been really impressed. And if, you know, you think about locking up Denzel Ward to a long-term contract, and then you have Denzel or Greg Newsome, entering the second year of his contract, all of a sudden you feel really good about that cornerback spot.
Yeah, and those are two guys that you're going to need against the pass-happy NFL. All right, this is kind of interesting. Let's take a look. Playoff probability leverage chart. So this shows you if you win, the shaded area is the probability of making the playoffs. As it stands now, the darker area is. So the Browns' probability of making the playoffs almost doubles. It's a 31% increase if they beat the Las Vegas Raiders in this game. So we knew it was a huge game for the Browns. You know, at 7-6, all of them in the AFC absolutely are. But that kind of shows it to you as far as numbers go, and it's almost 50% that they would make the playoffs probability-wise if they win this football game. So that, again, you take any type of increase in the chances of winning this that you get, and certainly the competitive disadvantage is mitigated somewhat if you can get some of those guys back that are on the COVID-19 list for the Browns.
Yeah, I think that chart speaks to the fact that they're 7-6, right, on the bubble. So their season is hanging in the balance, and it has been for a while now. To me, I feel like they need to win one of the next two. And I think it's going to be easier to beat the Raiders, even if you're shorthanded, than to go into Green Bay on Christmas, and which will be a short week too, and then beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, who are playing great. So you need one of those 2 wins, and then you need to win one of those 2 games, and then sweep the final 2 against Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. And to me, that gets you into the playoffs. So it's a big deal to win this game on Monday.
Yeah, I would agree with that rationale as well. You're going to need to win those last 2 games against the Steelers and the Bengals. And you know, you're going to look back at this and go, man, if they would have taken care of business against the Chargers or the Chiefs, they would have had some tiebreakers, and even if they make the playoffs, they would have been in better seeding. But they are where they're at, 7-6, still the destiny in their hands. When you look at this recipe for the Browns to come away with a win against the Raiders now Monday at 5.
Yeah, I think it's keep it close, right? Shorten the ball game. Turn over the Raiders. And if you watch that Chiefs game that got out of hand last week, the Raiders turned it over a bunch. I mean, Derek Carr would complete a pass and the guy would fumble. They tip it to the Chiefs, and you got to keep that going. You know, if you're the Browns, you got to extend that for one more week. And you need to make all your kicks, right? Chase McLaughlin's been struggling. They can't afford to give away any points in this game. And, you know, I think you need all those things to go right, and then you have a chance.
I think this is one where I think the defense kind of needs to, and now they're, you know, before when you had Clowney and you know, before you started losing guys on that side of the ball, you can say, well, the defensive front 7 is kind of there. Now you got Myles Garrett and Koromoa and Ward. Those are 3 really good guys, one at each level. But I think the defense is going to still, this is going to be if this is a high-scoring game, it works against the Browns, I believe.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, just trying to conceive of Nick Mullens keeping up with Derek Carr doesn't seem realistic. Not that it can't happen, you know, and DPJ gets hot, but I'm with you. This feels more like a 17-16 game to me than, you know, 31-30.
Yeah. And again, if the Browns do come away with that, move to 8-6, you know, the Ravens have to go and host the Packers. So a lot of things can happen, but you know, they have to find a way. It's likely to be ugly, but this is one week where everybody should be thrilled with an ugly victory.
Yeah, there's no doubt. You're right. And if they come away with this win, I think they'll feel better about themselves, and I think the fans will too, because they haven't really celebrated as much as they should have the Lions win and that Ravens win because of how they played out, right? But if you figure out a way to win on Monday night, Christmas week, then I think there'll be a lot of excitement, because even if they lose at Green Bay, like we mentioned, the playoffs will still be in front of the Browns. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think we could feel good coming out of Monday, or the Browns fans could feel good coming out of Monday night if it goes if it goes the right way.
Scott Petrak, Browns beat reporter for the Elyria Chronicle Telegram, as well as brownzone.com. Scott, as always, man, appreciate the time and the insight. I know you're crazy busy with everything that's been going on. I appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, Scott Petrak, make sure you read him. Pages of the Elyria Chronicle Telegram, as well as brownzone.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We will continue to talk Browns, getting ready for the Ravens. We'll hear from Alex Van Pelt about Nick Mullens and what he has seen from the guy who at this point will be the Browns starting quarterback. That's straight ahead on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine and too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
and educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
Browns getting ready to take on the Las Vegas Raiders now. 5 o'clock on Monday is when the game will be played. If all stays as is right now, Nick Mullens will be the starting quarterback for the Browns. His first start for the Browns. Not his first start in the NFL. Made several with the San Francisco 49ers. Alex Van Pelt talked about Nick Mullens and him being ready if his number is called.
Nick's another guy that's played football in the NFL and had success. So the work he's put in with T.C. McCartney on the side, they go through the same script as Baker would on a practice day. I know he works hard, in the film room and on the side at practice, stays out after practice and gets opportunities with the other guys. If something were to happen and we needed Nick to show up, I have confidence in him as well. I know he's put the work in and he's had success in the league as well.
Let's welcome in Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. So Mary Kay, that's kind of interesting to note that Nick Mullens goes through the same game script. That's something you don't know with a third-string quarterback who's on the practice squad, what they do during the week. Now we do.
Well, he comes from the same system that these guys run. I mean, he spent the first 3 years of his career in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, and it's that same Shanahan-Kubiak offense that Kevin Stefanski runs here. So there's a lot of carryover, and it would sort of be a seamless transition. However, of course, Nick Mullens is not Baker Mayfield, and he's not Case Keenum. So ideally for the Browns, one of those guys will make it back by this Monday game now. And both of them, I'm sure, are probably asymptomatic, considering that, we stood out there watching Case Keenum practice the other day, the same day that he tested positive. So he's probably asymptomatic too. I think one of those guys has a chance of getting back. But as you mentioned, if Nick Mullens plays, they'll run the same scheme.
Yeah. And again, it's a unique thing. It shows the level of planning that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry did to get a guy that if they needed in a pinch, and we're in a pinch, who has played in the NFL, has started in the NFL, has won in the NFL, and oh, by the way, he's kind of familiar with the system.
Yeah, the terminology and everything is just so very familiar. You don't have to try to learn to speak a new language, and just all the concepts are the same, and it just goes very smoothly when it's like that. And those guys are pretty regimented. When you've got the Kubiak Shanahan thing going on there, it carries over from place to place and from year to year. So I don't think they'll have too much of a problem that way.
So this one is kind of interesting. We know there's a lot of starters that aren't available as of now. Let's take a look at this tweet. When you look at this, it's kind of mind-numbing. So Jadeveon Clowney removed from that list. So it's now 3 on defense with Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. 4 on offense, J.C. Tretter, Joel Bitonio, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Nick Chubb. Those are great players, but the fact that you only have 7 of 22 starters, and that's kind of when you began the year, that's kind of eye-opening as to just how depleted the Browns are as we sit here. Who would be available, if they were playing tomorrow?
Yeah, it's if they don't get some guys back, it will be tough. But I think they will get guys back. I think that's the whole key to trying to move this game out a little bit and see what they can get. Now, the thing that they have to hope is that Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah don't test positive between now and the game. That's what you don't want to happen. That would defeat the purpose of this whole thing. Those 3 guys, I still think, can give the Raiders offense a pretty good battle. Now, conversely, the Raiders might now have an opportunity to get tight end Darren Waller back. Now, I don't know. I mean, it's not that many more days. It's only 2 more days. So maybe that's not going to happen, but it at least gives them an opportunity to get him back. And they're a different offense when he's on the field. It's almost like having Travis Kelce out there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a threat, and you're absolutely right, a big threat. All right, given all that's going on, biggest area of concern, if you could get, 1, 2, 3 of these guys back that you think would greatly increase, the Browns' chances of winning this, who do you think they'd be?
Oh, you know what? It's hard to say at this point. I would say quarterback is the number one thing that you would want to get back is either Baker Mayfield or Case Keenum. Ideally, get Baker Mayfield back. So that's number one. And then, you wish you could get a few of the offensive linemen back. I mean, that's going to be a little bit of a tough way to go if you don't get any of those guys back, because these guys get really good pressure. I mean, Max Crosby is first in the NFL with 78 pressures. Yannick Ngakoue is 15th in the NFL with 51 pressures. And, they can bring it. They can bring the heat. And they can wreck the game for you in a hurry. So you want somebody up there blocking for Baker Mayfield, blocking for Nick Chubb to blast open some of those holes. So I think that would be ideal.
Are you concerned with all the safeties that are missing, the back half of that, just because, Johnson, Delpit, Ronnie Harrison, you do have Denzel Ward, but boy, you'd like some help on that back half.
Yeah, you really would. And it seems to me that perhaps Ronnie Harrison might be symptomatic because he sat out Friday's practice and he was tested before practice, which I wrote a story earlier today describing how that all went down yesterday. And I came to find out that the NFL basically directed the Browns that they only had to test the symptomatic players and those players that wanted to be tested before practice. So I'm guessing that Ronnie might have been maybe like feeling a little something beforehand. So he's someone that I think, you'd have to kind of look at as maybe not getting back. And John Johnson 3, I think I've seen him say that he feels fine. But saying that you feel fine and getting back in a timely fashion are two different things. Of course, easier now that the rules have changed, but David Njoku had been saying that he felt fine for days, and he just got activated yesterday. So, and that was after like 9 days. The overwhelming majority of players get activated after about 10 days. Again, that was in the old rules when you had to test negative twice, 24 hours apart. Now you just need to return 2 negative tests on the same day or show that your viral load has lessened.
When you look at Njoku being back, what does that give the Browns? I mean, that's arguably one of their best blocking tight ends as well.
Yeah, that'll help a lot. I mean, he's good at blocking. He'll be able to help chip. I mean, if you've got Blake Hance and you've got James Hudson at the tackle positions, you need to get some help in terms of chipping and trying to keep Crosby and Ngakoue off of your quarterback. So he'll help in that regard. But then he's also, he's great over the middle. He's one of your most explosive threats right now. The other thing to consider in this game is, I don't know if they have time, but Greg Newsome and Anthony Schwartz were going to be ruled out with their concussions. Will they be cleared in time? Who knows? I mean, it's really only 48 more hours, but it at least gives them a chance.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer, and cleveland.com and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll hear from Rich Bisaccia, Raiders head coach, about getting ready to play the Browns with the COVID concerns. Plus, we'll head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for Plain Dealer and cleveland.com, and I continue to talk about the Browns getting ready for the Ravens. Now 5 o'clock on Monday. Time to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Decisions could change a million times before Saturday's Browns game. But as of right now, my opinion, the NFL is showing itself in a bad way, worrying only about making money and not making any schedule changes. The integrity of the game is at stake. Health situations that are now occurring in the world right now should override any football game. The bottom line, players make up this league. Their health and the health of their families should be considered first.
And Mary Kay, it took them a while to reach the level that they're going to move the game, but they did finally get there.
They did, and you have to commend them for that. There were 3 teams involved, 3 teams with double digits or up into the 20s of COVID positives, including Washington, the Browns, and the Rams. And they changed all 3 games, moved all 3 games back. Now, I'm sure you have some opponents that are not happy about this. I know the Raiders are not happy about this. They wanted to play the game, get on that airplane, get this over with, and go play some darn football. And now they're home for a couple more days. And, they were probably really looking forward to, Nick Mullens and no Jadeveon Clowney and no Baker Mayfield and Jarvis Landry, Wyatt Teller, et cetera. Now they don't know who to prepare for. And, they've got to come all the way cross country after a huge beatdown by the Chiefs. So I actually kind of feel a little bit bad for everything that they're being put through right now as well.
Yeah, and there was reports that they were kind of pushing back against having the game moved because earlier the NFL had said it wouldn't do that for unvaccinated, and that I think was kind of the key that they pointed out, that if it was unvaccinated outbreaks, this is not an unvaccinated outbreak, obviously. These are breakthrough ones with the Browns.
Yeah, the protocols are so involved and so evolving and confusing to a certain degree, to the point where Browns players were furious about the testing cadence on Thursday. So things are changing. The Browns, when they sent out their statement today, they mentioned that they are being fluid and they are going with the flow because they don't know what the next few days are going to bring. They don't know if Baker Mayfield's going to get back or Kevin Stefanski's going to get back. I mean, it seems like they both have a good chance since they have said publicly that they're asymptomatic. But the truth is, nobody knows exactly who's coming back in time for the game and who else might be out in time for the game.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So Rich Bisaccia, interim head coach for the Raiders, talked about, and this is from today, he talked about facing the Browns with this COVID outbreak.
The Browns, if you look at last year, they had a COVID issue the last game of the season. They had coaches with COVID. They had players with COVID. They went into Pittsburgh. They had to have the win to get into the playoffs at Pittsburgh. They beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. They won the game. They came back and won a playoff game. So we're looking at jersey numbers and trying to get prepared ourselves to go play a game and put a good performance on the field. So I know they're going to have a team show up, and I know they're going to play hard. I just really think we need to look at ourselves and how we can go out there and put a performance on the field to help us have a chance to win.
And again, Mary Kay, that was before the game was moved back to Monday, but it kind of shows you the mindset that the Raiders are approaching this game with.
Well, I think teams really understand. When you look over the Browns roster, there's a lot to see there. And even with Jadeveon Clowney testing positive today, it still is a formidable enough defense when you have to go up against Myles Garrett. You've got Malik Jackson up there. You still have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Malcolm Smith, some of the other defenders that you had. You've got, who else was left? You have Denzel Ward. I mean, when you have your two best defensive players in Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, that means a lot right there. And then Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah coming on so strong in the middle of that defense. So three guys like that can be game wreckers for you. You know what? I mean, you just cannot rule out the Cleveland Browns, even if nobody comes back for this game.
So the other thing that Coach Bisaccia talked about, last game out for the Raiders, not a good one. They lost. They got manhandled by the Chiefs, but they turned the ball over 5 times, and that's something that Coach Bisaccia has kind of been harping on his team about. Here's Coach Bisaccia about the turnovers for the Raiders.
I just think we did a poor job protecting the ball. I think we were trying to pluck and tuck at times, and they did a good job of knocking it out. You got to give them some credit as well. They bang at the ball, and the team we're getting ready to play in Cleveland does a really good job. I think they're +2 in the turnovers. I think they have 11 picks, and I know they've knocked the ball out a bunch, and so we're expecting that again. And to some degree, we opened Pandora's box, and we just have to do a better job at doing our part, and that's protecting the football.
All right, guys. Thank you.
And Mary Kay, again, the Browns do that anyway. You can be sure, hey, look at this. They had 5 turnovers. 4 of them were fumbles. So you can be sure the Browns are going to be trying to rip the ball out. That's one of the things that they will need is a strong defensive performance.
Well, another thing to look at in this game, that Saturday was supposed to be a very wet, slushy, rainy day, which I think really would have favored the Cleveland Browns. So, now I haven't looked at the forecast yet to see what Monday's weather is going to be. But if it's not a real super wet game, then, maybe you have an opportunity, or if it's not super windy, then, maybe Derek Carr has an opportunity to get that arm cranked up a little bit. And again, if Darren Waller comes back, that changes the game for them. They also have Hunter Renfrow, and he's amazing. He's got, I think, 800 some yards already, which is pretty incredible at this point in the season. So they do have some talent. They don't run the ball very well, and that can hurt them. So there's so much that we just don't know yet as we head into this game. Interestingly enough, the Browns now have a practice tomorrow. They only had one practice heading into this game, and that was yesterday. And some guys didn't even practice. Jadeveon Clowney sat out with his illness. He'll still be out again. We don't know yet who will be out there on the practice field. Will Myles practice this time? He kind of showed up late and did some things on his own. But they do have another practice to try to get it together for this game. If Baker's not back by tomorrow, it will give Nick Mullens a chance, or if Case isn't back by tomorrow, it will give Nick Mullens an opportunity to get out there and get all those first-team reps that he really, really needs. Still so much news to come before we get to game time.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer, and cleveland.com and I are going to take one more time out. On the other side of the break, we'll take a look more at this Browns-Raiders game, what to expect, and some keys to the game. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine. Too late at night. But feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. NFL has pushed the Browns-Raiders game back to Monday, 5 o'clock from tomorrow at 4:30. Mary Kay Cabot, when you look at it, the extra 48 hours, is it realistic to think the Browns will get some of the guys back? I mean, how many of them? I know we're being hypothetical. With the reduced threshold to be activated off the COVID list, does that help get a couple of them back at least?
Yes, it does. It should. Now, if we were playing under the old rules where you had to have 2 negative tests 24 hours apart, I would say no. But under the new rules and with moving the game, it almost seems like the Browns are getting their Christmas miracle, really. Because today, before the game was moved, it really seemed like this was getting to the point where it could very well have been a loss. Now, with getting guys back, and moving the game to Monday, getting guys a little healthier in some cases too, now they at least have a chance if no more big name guys go on the list. Again, as we mentioned, Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett. But if that doesn't happen, then I think that they will be in much better shape to win this game, and it is so vital that they do that.
Yeah, a huge game without question. Conference game, 7-6 puts you at 8-6, and then all of a sudden, you're looking at what the possibilities could be. There's a chance that if the Browns are able to beat the Raiders and the Ravens lose to the Packers, the Browns would be in first place in the division. All right, what's the formula? What do the Browns need to do, assuming that they're not going to have a complete roster back, in order to get a win against the Raiders?
Well, as Bisaccia mentioned there, they turned the ball over 5 times. So that's one of the keys to the game. You've got to dig that ball out, and that's where the Myles Garretts of the world and the Denzel Wards come in. So you've got to get those takeaways and maybe get another score or even 2 on defense. So that's vitally important. And then Nick Chubb and Dearness Johnson, you've got to be able to pound the ball with those guys. This is a time of year where they need to shine, and even though you're not going to have some of your key offensive linemen, perhaps, you still want to be able to, just rumble along down there at First Energy Stadium and get those yards that you need to get in December to win these kind of games and keep Derek Carr off the field.
It seems like the last couple of years under Kevin Stefanski, when the Browns have been up against it, they found a way to come through. I think to the Broncos game, I think to last week's game against the Ravens, I think to the Steelers game that Coach Bisaccia referenced, both of them, the regular season game and the playoff game. Do you get the sense that this team under Kevin Stefanski seems to perform best when it's kind of like, man, how are they going to pull this off?
Yeah, you know what? Yes, in some ways I can say yes to that, but then you look to that Jets game last year, where they really needed that game against a Jets team that had won. I don't know if they had only 1 game or 2 games. The Browns with it. They might have only had 1 point in the season, week 15. But the Browns went there and they had a COVID issue, and they did not have their starting receiving core. They did not have Jed Wills and a few other guys, and they did not rise to the occasion. Now, they didn't have some of the defensive guys that they have now. Will they have them Monday? It's hard to say. But that was a game where they really needed to win it, and they did not come up big. And they were very fortunate, I think, that the Steelers decided to rest their starters in the season finale. Because had they not done that, who knows what would have happened. The Browns only beat the backups by 2 points. So they were very, very fortunate to get into the playoffs last year. So yes, they've got to come up big in this game, no matter who they have out there, because you don't want to have to count on going to Green Bay now 5 days later only, traveling to Green Bay on Christmas Day with a lot of guys that are going to be, just coming off lists, maybe not feeling 100%, and then going up there and trying to win a game. So you can't afford to lose this one. The Packers game is one that you kind of think maybe if you lose that, you can try to overcome that.
Yeah, fair enough. I valid point with the Jets game. Do you think the Browns potentially use a fullback more to kind of offset anything that might be less than 100% with the offensive line?
You know what? It's hard to say. Maybe that is one way that you could go, because you'll have some healthy fullbacks, and you don't have Kareem Hunt for this game. So yeah, I would think that was one thing that you can do. But they should have 2 really good tight ends back for this game in David Njoku and Harrison Bryant, and I think that's really going to help them again, especially if they don't have their tackles. Well, we know they're not going to have Jack Conklin, but if they don't have Jed Wills, they don't have Wyatt Teller, some of those kinds of things will help to have a fullback.
Yeah, fair enough. Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Mary Kay, as always, thanks so much for the time and the insight.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot, make sure you read her in the pages of the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Well, each week, the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students from all across the state of Ohio. Today, we head to Trinity High School to meet Ian Anderson, a senior at Trinity, three-sport star who also wants to be in sports management. Ian Anderson, this week's Ohio Lottery Partners in Education Shining Star. When Ian Anderson graduates from Trinity High School in a few months, the Trojans will have a tough time replacing him in a number of ways. He's a 4-year starter in multiple sports and a leader as well.
Played for me all 4 years, starter for us for all 4 years, which is a rarity. He became our quarterback. He became the school's all-time leading passer, and nobody's probably going to break those records for a long time. Yet when he came to us, he was not a quarterback. So we made him a quarterback because he was an athlete, and we needed somebody to fill that spot. We asked him to do it. He stepped into it as a freshman, and like I said, he has had a great career here. And like I said, if you look at him statistically, he by far is the best quarterback we've ever had statistically.
In addition to football, Anderson is also a starter on the baseball team and a 4-year starter in basketball for the Trojans, where he enjoys mentoring the younger players.
I just want to make sure that they know what the right thing to do is, and what Trinity basketball is all about, and just make sure that they stay mentally tough and fight to the end.
Next year in college, Anderson plans on majoring in sports management and staying close to the games he loves.
I picked sports management because sports have really been my life, ever since I was little. I love sports, and I want to be in sports management, an athletic director and coach, just to teach the kids what my coaches taught me. I'm going to say my experience with playing sports and the coaches I had and their experience that they've passed down to me.
Ian's not the type of guy who's just going to get out there and go, hey, this is what you got to do. No, Ian's going to show you what you have to do. You got questions for him, he'll answer those questions, but that's kind of how he leads.
At Trinity, all sophomores, juniors, and seniors have internships that give the students real-world experience in their areas of interest. Ian currently has an internship at Cleveland State with the athletics department in their corporate sponsorship division.
I'm at the Cleveland State Athletic Department, where I help my supervisor get things ready for games, and I oversee different contracts they have with sales. I've created a spreadsheet looking through each contract to see what Cleveland State gives each sponsor and make sure that all of those needs are fulfilled.
I think coming from this type of school and then in the internship process, being out there amongst the real world, so to speak, gives them a great opportunity to kind of see how things are going. So how will that help them? I think that any kid that goes through our program, once you get that real world experience, I think that goes a long way. It just does. I don't know that I can say exactly what it does. I just think the fact that they experience it, and just like anything else, experience is one of the greatest teachers you could have. So.
If you know a student who deserves recognition, we want to hear about them, and you can nominate them completely online. Go to OhioLottery.com. Find the About section. Click on Partners in Education. There you will see links to nomination forms. Nominate that student as an academic all-star, and they could end up being featured as our next shining star. All right, well done, Ian Anderson. That'll do it for this edition of Sports4CLE. We will see you back here Monday. The D-Man, Dennis Maniloff, will join us. We will talk plenty about the Browns getting ready to face the Raiders, 5 o'clock, First Energy Stadium on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will see you Monday right here on Sports4CLE.